Welcome to Criminal Chronicles, the channel where we explore the darkest and most mysterious true crime cases in history. Today, we examine one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in the United States, a case that terrified the Southwest, confused investigators for years, and left behind a haunting desert graveyard. This is the disturbing story of the West Mesa Bone Collector. The story begins in Albuquerque, New Mexico, specifically an area known as the West Mesa. A wide, barren stretch of desert, quiet, isolated, and seemingly ordinary to anyone driving past it. For years, nobody knew that beneath the sand, a nightmare was waiting to be discovered. In February 2009, a woman was walking her dog across the dusty terrain. The dog began digging excitedly, something animals often do, but this time it wasn't a rock or a bone from an animal. What surfaced was unmistakably human. Shocked, she contacted authorities. Police arrived, expecting perhaps a single missing person case. But when they began surveying the land, they uncovered far more than anyone could have imagined. First one bone, then another, and then another. By the time the excavation was finished, the remains of 11 women and one unborn child had been discovered. 11 victims buried in close proximity, all placed there intentionally. It was immediately clear this was the work of a serial predator, a killer who operated silently, hidden beneath the sands of the New Mexico desert. The investigation revealed that most of the victims were young women, ages ranging from 15 to 32. Many struggled with addiction, homelessness, or life on the streets. Several were known to engage in sex work to survive. Because of their vulnerable positions in society, their missing reports were delayed or not thoroughly investigated. These women were targeted because they were less likely to be searched for immediately. They were easy prey. Police determined that the killings likely took place between 2003 and 2005, years before the remains were discovered. Forensic teams realized that the environment of the West Mesa, its dry climate, shifting sands, and animal activity, destroyed any DNA or solid evidence the killer may have left behind. Every clue had eroded with time. The killer had not only chosen vulnerable victims, he had also chosen the perfect dumping ground. Albuquerque police launched one of the largest investigations in New Mexico history. Multiple agencies joined: the FBI, state police, forensic anthropologists, medical examiners, and specialized search teams. Hundreds of leads poured in. Every tip, phone call, rumor, and possibility was examined. But no suspect was ever definitively connected to the murders. There were, however, several major persons of interest. One of the first was Lorenzo Montoya, a local man who lived only a couple miles from the burial site. He had a history of violence, especially toward sex workers. Reports suggested he liked to take women to remote places. In 2006, years before the bodies were discovered, Montoya was killed by the boyfriend of a woman he had allegedly attacked. Police later said that if he were still alive, he would have been their number one suspect. But since he had died before the remains were found, investigators never had the chance to question him or compare evidence. Another theory pointed toward a long-haul truck driver, possibly someone who traveled across state lines targeting vulnerable women in different cities. Serial killers with trucking backgrounds aren't uncommon in the U.S. Several known offenders have used highways and truck stops as hunting grounds. The pattern of missing women matched some of these profiles, but nothing could be proven. A third theory involved trafficking networks. Some investigators believed the victims may have been abducted or controlled by small criminal groups, and that one individual within that network disposed of them in the desert. But once again, no physical evidence tied any suspects to the burial site. One of the strangest leads appeared in 2010 when police obtained a large collection of photographs belonging to an unidentified man. The photos showed women, many of them resembling the demographic of the West Mesa victims. Some looked fearful, others appeared unconscious. The man in possession of these photos was never conclusively identified, and none of the West Mesa victims could be matched to the images. The case remained open, and the photos became yet another disturbing mystery with no answers. Years passed, and frustration grew. Investigators concluded that several challenges made this case extraordinarily difficult to solve. The desert's harsh climate destroyed biological evidence. Animals scattered bones over time. The killer carefully selected isolated dumping locations. Victims were often overlooked by the system, and the remains were discovered long after the crimes occurred. All these factors combined to create a perfect storm for a cold case. Residents of Albuquerque began forming their own theories. Some believe the killer died years ago, possibly Montoya. Others think the killer simply moved away, blending into another state where new victims may have gone unnoticed. And some locals fear that the killer never left at all, that he might still be living quietly in Albuquerque, passing people on the street every day. Today, the West Mesa site is a memorial. Crosses and plaques mark the names of the 11 women whose lives were cut short. Families gather there every year, lighting candles and praying for justice. The police still receive tips. Detectives still revisit old leads. Every new discovery, no matter how small, brings back hope that someday the truth will come out. But as of now, the identity of the West Mesa Bone Collector remains a chilling mystery. A killer walked through the sands of New Mexico. He buried 11 women, and he disappeared without leaving a trace. This is the haunting, unfinished story of the West Mesa Bone Collector, one of America's most terrifying and tragic unsolved cases. Thank you for watching Criminal Chronicles. If you're drawn to the darkest corners of true crime, mysteries, and unsolved cases, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. Your support helps us continue exploring the stories that deserve to be heard. Stay safe and stay curious.